Howdy, saxophone geeks. Welcome to Saxophone Geek, I guess. It's probably a better way to say that. Today we're going to take a look at a mouthpiece that I just picked up really cheap. This is a regular, standard, modern Otto Link 6-star. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some baffle material in it. These have like a big indentation, very little baffle, and it makes them play, I don't know, some people love them. You know, the modern production, it's cheap. They make a pretty good sound. It's not a classical sound. But they could use a little more baffle right in here where it dumps. You can see that in the reflection. It just kind of dumps down in there. So we're going to play this as it is so we have a record of what it sounds like before. It's a 6-star, kind of close to what I've been playing, kind of like a 7-ish. This is a link that I was gifted many years ago for free. And it's a much earlier blank, which I don't know. This is still what we consider a current production mouthpiece. But they're very different from each other. If I line them up, you can see that one is shorter. Everything about the newer one is shorter. And the shank and the way the shank is it's very interesting. I mean, because there's so much variation. This older one, I put a baffle in, and it came out pretty cool. There's still way too much baffle material. I had done this little project as a video 4-parter, and then I never really revisited the mouthpiece. I've also worked a little bit on the facing. Now, I don't know anything about facing work, but I was able to work on the table. This was an 8-star, and I kind of brought it down closer to a 7-star in kind of correcting. It was really crooked to one side. It's still not quite right. You know, you could send this to a refacer who's really good at their job, and they'd be able to correct this really quickly, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing, so it's still a little crooked back here where the facing begins. You know, just because it probably, I don't know, it was probably played a lot and whatever. The biggest difference to the sound is the baffle material, because this was a lot like this new one that we just got with very little baffle material. Kind of dumps into the chamber there. And so what a lot of people will do is put a little epoxy. Some people like to use a black epoxy so that it doesn't, you don't see the work that you put in. And I put way too much in. What you need to do is you need to use less, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna play this first, see what it sounds like as is, with a pretty standard ligature, nothing fancy. This is a cheap, you know, band ligature that comes with these 2-screw lig, and look, what will it fit? It doesn't fit that good on here, but we have similar stuff. We won't do a fancy ligature, pretty basic, middle of the road, with a 3.5 Boston Sax Shop reed, and we're going to see how it sounds ahead of the curve, and then we'll slowly put a little baffle in there and see what we end up with. I ordered some JB Weld. This other stuff, I used this. This is a blue other stuff. It's not JB Weld, and it's a little gummy. I'm hoping the JB Weld is more solid material. I also didn't mix that all the way. A lot of factors in this, right? But the sound difference that it makes in the mouthpiece as far as projection is pretty substantial. So we're going to put some material in here, and then it took some work to sand it and get it right. You know, looking at it, cleaning it off, sanding it again. So it's a good amount of work. I wouldn't tell you that it's not a lot of work. And obviously takes years. I would never do this to someone's mouthpiece that they like, because I'm no expert. You know what I mean? But this is a good little project, little fun project. So let's see what it plays like. This will be a multi-part series, because although I've already talked for 4 minutes. Jesus, seriously. Sax Geek, we'll be right back. Alright, so here's that link. The shank diameter is really big. I had to put a new extra piece of paper on here compared to what I'm playing now. And then the reed, let's see, the ligature fits alright. So we're going to give it a play test, but I got to turn down the microphone, so I got to pause for a second. All right, so the mouthpiece has got kind of a dry sound to it, a little nasal actually, which we'll see. We're gonna definitely put something in here. 6 star also feels a little soft for me. I tend to like a shorter facing, but I'm not really good enough at math to modify facing work in any kind of accurate way. So I would still send this to a refacer if I was dedicated to this idea. For myself, taking a link like this and turning it into, souping something up, I would put the baffle in myself, do some of that work myself, and then have the mouthpiece refaced. And then if you can find a guy that's willing to work on a mouthpiece that you put a baffle into, I don't know. But that might be the way to go, because then you get even further playability out of the mouthpiece if you send it to an expert who knows how to set them up. So that's another option. But it's just going to be interesting to see how this mouth. I'm not going to do anything else, so I'm just going to put the baffle material in, and if I'm careful enough, it won't require, if you mar one of the rails, then that's when they have to be fully refaced, and you can even ruin, if you go deep enough, there won't be anything left. But I'll be careful. This didn't really cost me very much. So we're going to go with that. We're going to see what we end up with, and interesting to see the difference. See if just the baffle material takes away that nasalness, gives us a little more projection, even makes it feel like you're getting more response out of it. Because I do like almost like a 7. This is 6 star. It might be a longer facing because it's a factory facing, and they're usually not very short. So anyway, interesting thing. So we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna work on this a little bit. There'll probably be 2 or 3 part series. You don't need to watch all of it, but just interesting. I'm just interested in it. Let's see what it does. Because again, got it pretty cheap, and that's the idea. I kind of set myself a limit what I was going to pay for it, and I made it. I think I paid like it's $60, 60 something with shipping. So it'll be an interesting experiment, and if we get something that's even remotely playable, we'll pass it on to somebody else. Maybe see if somebody likes it. I'm right now playing on something that I'm really into, so I'm not exactly looking for a mouthpiece right now, but fun experiment. So hope you're all doing all right, and that's the link.